Um, Me and my friend a couple of nights ago were toying with my hologram dish, um, and he stumbled upon the essence of what I believe marks the inverse relationship between invisibility and holodecks. Namely, what he said is that you can see an object that isn't there, but you can't touch it. You can see it, but you can't touch it. But not only that, um, you can shine light on it. You can shine different sources of light on it, and the light would interact with it. Um, Light would interact with it, would reflect off of it, it would illuminate it. Because it's interacting with it, light can interact with a virtual object because it's actually interacting with it. So, but the second part of the essence is that you can touch an invisible object, but you can't touch a virtual person in a holodeck. I believe that's what he said. And that strikes at the essence of what I believe is the inverse relationship between invisibility and holodecks. Because invisibility doesn't mean non-existence, as a reporter mistakenly thought of it as. It just means that it's invisible. But you can definitely touch. I don't think there's been any sci-fi or realistic story coming out of the press of an invisible object that you can't touch. But there are virtual objects that you can't touch, but you can see. You can see a person in a holodeck, but you can't touch them. Like in the photographic holodeck of my photographic portal. This shows what I had a long time ago. This shows the inverse relationship between invisibility and holodecks. And if I had that tree, which is at the corner, if I was to win around that tree, I should have, but I wasn't thinking. If I was to win all the way around that tree and on top and everything, that tree would appear in the center of this room, like this lady appears in the holodeck. Although she's not there, she is in essence really not there, but an invisible object is there. You can't see it. If this graveyard was flush up against a background graveyard, you couldn't see it at 26 viewing angles, but you can definitely touch the box, the portal, photographic portal. On the other hand, the virtual person in the photographic hologram, you can see them, but you can't touch them, and they aren't there. They are physically aren't there. They aren't there. But light doesn't work in the same way that in a photographic hologram that it would in a telepresence. And we both imagined two of these hologram dishes facing upside down towards each other, and I'll get to why that cyclotron's there. So in the original thing, in the original instructions to my hologram device, it showed just one of these facing upward, and the frog that originally came with the device would appear at that dot right there, even though his real self was right there. Well, I imagine if something was up here, it would appear down here too in the exact same place. So we both imagined a person, a guy, for instance, up here, and a lady, for instance, down here. And their virtual selves, they wouldn't appear here anymore because it's a totally different pattern. they would appear in each other's holodeck virtually. And so you would necessarily have to include gravity or an artificial gravity to make the setup work. So you can imagine two of these facing each other and going around in a circle real fast. So not only is light interacting with the virtual selves, much like this toy here, light interacts with the virtual selves up to a certain point. I call that an invisible horizon, where light just goes through that horizon, imaginary horizon, where you're not actually looking into it. And so light can affect, and also a source of gravity is introduced in telepresence, in this form of telepresence, where two of these hologram dishes are facing each other. They necessarily have to be in some form turned around like this, two dishes spinning around to maintain their positions to each other. But with my telepresence, light would affect the person in each other's holodeck in their virtual form. And it has its own natural gravity for each person in their holodecks. And this is the portal mirror world topology. But there's an invisible boundary out here. You can touch the televisual portal, its surface, but you can't touch the person inside. The one you can see, you can't touch them, but the invisible object outside, the portal itself, at least a televisual portal, you can touch the televisual portal. Even though it's invisible, doesn't mean it's non-existent. But you can't touch the person there, because they truly are non-existent in that realm. But they exist somewhere else, in either your environment or their own environment, or a combination of even yourself, your body. If you had a flashlight, you could shine it on the person and it would do the same thing that this is doing here. But there's to make this short, if you could find a combination, a haptic combination, where you can't touch an invisible object and you can touch a visual person, a virtual person, then that would be all that's needed for a true cosmic portal, is to find some sort of break in that symmetry, that inverse symmetry, to make an invisible object untouchable, to be able to walk through this portal while it exists in one reality, while being able to touch a virtual person who is actually not there but at a distant reality. So that's the essence of the inverse invisible holodeck essence. That's the essence of the inversion between invisibility and holodecks, is that you can touch the invisible, but you can't touch the virtual. But if you could reverse that, if you can make it where you can't touch the invisible, but you can touch the virtual, you would have a cosmic portal. So I think I'm just repeating myself, but this is natural gravity and natural light affecting it. But all it needs to be done is to invert it. Invert the essence, the inversion. Make the invisible untouchable and make the virtual touchable. Thanks a lot.